We gonna hit you with the bars real quick. Ayy, quarantine life, but my flow still sick. If I had a maid, I have a make you lemonade. And I don't need to get laid, so don't be afraid. Girl, I get paid, but I'm in pain. Kinda like Wayne, first name Bruce. Where the hell's that made with the goddamn juice? Every day's the same, deja vu. Bring in the wine, yeah, bring in the Zan. Pump up my songs, yeah, let's do a dance. You the kind of girl that made me cancel my plans. You the only girl that let her pay for OnlyFans. Driving. Hey all you cool cats and kittens. It's another episode of Suicide Logs. It's 285. I did my research, and yeah, this interview is gonna be with Mathias Vasquez. Mathias, that's how you pronounce his name, and I have a feeling people get his name wrong a lot. Because when I think I pronounced it as Mathias, and he was like, Mathias, just as easy as it gets, Mathias. And so I think the first thing I'm going to ask him about is that. Dude, I wanted to make a solo podcast, but I put the poll up, and people voted for a guest. There were people who voted for solo. And I respect that, but more people wanted guests, so that's all right. That's all right. And Mathias hit me up, man. Mathias was one of the people. The options, like, if you want to be a guest, hit me up. We're supposed to have another podcast, actually, with Christian. The bet is over, by the way. I don't think Dylan Dennis is boxing Logan Paul. We're supposed to do an episode about that, but no big deal. Because if you haven't seen the episode, it's a very late guess. I don't know, maybe like 10 episodes ago or something like that. And I just had something just told me that he was going to pull the same shit. So the day of the podcast, we had it scheduled for like 2 or 1 day in advance. And then the day came, and I didn't hit him up. I waited for him to hit me up. And I think we're supposed to do it at around 6 or 7 o'clock, 5:30 rolls around. I get no response. Not even a response. I get nothing. But like, hey, man, we still on for, So in my head, first of all, I wasn't in the mood to do it. But I didn't know how. Cowardly on my end. I didn't want to tell him, hey, I'm not feeling it. But I knew he wasn't gonna, I was pretty confidently. I knew he wasn't gonna fucking call or hit me up or anything. So I didn't do it, and luckily he didn't. So I don't have to feel guilty about that. Because if he were to hit me up, because this is, it's work, just working. If he didn't hit me, I would have hit him up, or if he would have hit me up, I would have been like, yeah, bet, let's do it, because I'm fucking game. And some of these people aren't fucking game. That's it. So we're going to call Mathias, and we're going to be fucking game, dude. Fuck. Mathias.
Marconi.
What's up?
Not much, man. How are you? How's life?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I can't complain. I can, but it's not gonna do nothing. So I'm just hanging out. Let's see how long it takes until I start complaining. We're about 3 minutes and 40 seconds into the podcast, and all I really mentioned about you is that your name is Mathias, and I think I said Mathias at first, and I felt like, oh man, I wonder if other people mess it up, because you're like as simple as it gets, kind of like, I feel like psychologically make me feel like, oh, you better not fuck up my name, because I already said it's easy, so if you mess it up again, you're dumb. At least that's how I digested that tone. And so
no, I'm pretty forgiving overall. It's been butchered my whole life, so the way I look at it is, as long as it starts with an M and ends with an S, I'm just gonna be like, hey man, you tried, we'll do better next time, and just kind of I'm never very too stern about it. But that has also bitten me in the ass a lot with, some funky introductions and some completely wrong, different types of like ethnic names that got put on flyers under my picture. And I'm like, I don't even know who the fuck that is.
What's the worst butcher you've had on your name?
Um, I mean, just in everyday life, it always gets spliced like Matthias,
Matthias.
Yeah, and like those are all different. I've heard variations of my names to those extents, and I've been told that my name's a lot more common in like Europe, I think. But I mean, as far as on a poster, not throwing anyone under the bus because I wasn't upset. I actually thought it was funny, and it ended up being fixed, no problem, and everything's great. It was just something funny that I pointed out. But I was on a poster recently, and instead of putting Matthias, they put Marquez, which I'm like, holy shit.
I can see that. Somebody's dyslexic.
And it's like you kind of put crazy. The first name and the last name together, so I get it. But I'm like, that's pretty out there. Like, I don't know a lot of Marquezes, but
What are you? Because you strike me as Mexican, but then you start getting into your name. Like, what are you?
Yeah, I'm a little layered. I'm mostly Mexican. I'm like 50% Mexican, and then about 25% Native and 25% white. But what's interesting about that is I'm very in touch with the remainder of my Latino family that is still around. A lot of the elders have passed away, and with that, culture also kind of starts to dilute over time. But I'm still very connected with who's still around. But growing up, I did grow up in a more traditionally Native household, and that's kind of when it came to spirituality and the traditions we were keeping up, it was more from that side.
So you feel like you kind of identify as Mexican, or you feel more in touch with that part of you?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, just more Native. I mean, percentage-wise, it's less, but in terms of what's kind of I've been surrounded by and engulfed in my whole life, it's been more Native stuff than Mexican.
Oh, wow. Oh. You go to, like, casinos and stuff?
I mean, I don't indulge in it. I don't like to gamble or party or anything, but there are, festivities that will take you there. Sometimes, like on the reservation that I'm a part of, we have a casino, and we also have tribal meetings that take place, on the same land. So
this might be,
to an extent, yes.
This might be a dumb question. Is Las Vegas like an Indian reservation?
I mean, gambling in Nevada is legal, so I think for that reason, that's why you can go to a gas station and they have a bunch of slot machines and stuff like that. I mean, there is native land out there, and I'm sure tribes have capitalized on that and putting up their own casinos with, less hoops to have to jump through than, a state that doesn't have legal gambling. I don't know too much. I don't really, but I would imagine. I don't think a lot of them are, but I'm sure there are some to an extent.
Oh, got it. Look, man. I'm gonna just be honest, like, and hopefully you can help me out here and set me up for this. So, I feel like lately I've had comics on, and I've kind of turned it into an interview and just like ask basic questions, like, oh, how long you been doing comedy, and we talk about the scene and stuff like that. But we could get to that if you want. I'm not saying I don't want to do it, but I just feel like maybe I could learn more about, because I feel like. Well, I met you once, from what I remember. No disrespect if
I do think we've crossed paths once.
The only time I remember you was at Alameda like a month ago, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. I don't go out there super often, but that's around the time that I got my film back. I saw you putting clips up, and I was the first person up, and I had to hit another spot, so I had to hit the road quick. I couldn't stay, but I do. Your name did ring a bell.
Yeah, I remember you. I do. All I remember from your set, and it seemed like you kind of took the open mic approach of like trying new things. At least it seemed like. I remember you just mentioned something about skateboarding. That's the only thing that really like stuck with me.
Yeah, that's a bit. I mean, it's one of the bits that has stuck for sure. That's one of the more ironed out ones. I am constantly kind of trying to roll things out. But that is the one that's kind of stuck for the time, for at least like the last
Oh, that's interesting.
6 to 8 months, maybe.
Nice. And how how long? Because I am curious. How long have you been doing comedy, stand up?
I think I want to say I just passed my 2 year mark within like the last week or so.
Oh, there you go. Cool.
Yeah. How long have
And
you been doing it?
like a year and some change. I think like a year, maybe year and a half, whatever, something like that.
Nice.
And you're out in Santa Rosa. Do you stay out there?
Yeah, I kind of stick to these areas mostly just because, like, I have a lot of other plates in the air just as far as, like, how much time in a week I can put into comedy. And it's like I want to get out and network more, but at the same time, it's like for an equivalent 5 minute spot, having to go an hour plus more on the road, it just stacks up to the point where other shit won't get done.
Got it. So what
But yeah,
from
I tend to stick around here mostly. I enjoy venturing out. I just have to genuinely put time aside for it.
and where's like the closest venture out that you would hit? Like where from Santa Rosa? I'm sure you'd
From
rather
Santa
go to
Rosa,
the
I
Bay.
mean, there's a good handful of spots in the county that like you can get a set in just about every night if you want to. Some spots are definitely better than others, but I think within the last year or so, the scene is really, especially with nightlife and stuff, like trying to get back on its feet. After all the kind of I don't want to talk about the pandemic at all, but just because of the pandemic, everything's trying to figure itself out again.
Mhm.
But things are starting to get better around here as far as close ventures out. I mean, San Francisco is only like what, an hour and 15 away, and Oakland probably not much further.
Okay.
Um, but even then, just on a weeknight, it is a real hassle for sure, especially with timing of getting out of work and committing to getting there by sitting in traffic.
Is it 2 hours to get to Sacramento from there, or less?
I want to say like 2 hours and 15, but I have done that before, and it was worth it. I really do enjoy my time out in Sacramento the few times I've gone, but it is one of those things where you're like an hour and a half in the ride, and you're like, holy shit, I'm like barely halfway.
Yeah. Yeah. I always have a lot of these "what am I doing" kind of moments. Like at
Fuck
Alameda when I met
yes,
you,
dude.
I was feeling really sick, like allergies, and I was just thinking like, man, just going out, I just feel like it's kind of like killing me a little bit. And all I'm thinking is like, man, I'm just gonna do 5 minutes. But I did have it in my head too, like I felt sick, so I was just gonna kind of run through things that I know. Like I don't really think I tried anything new that night. I was just like putting things together in certain orders, I guess. And it ended up being like a really good set. And I just would think like, huh, that feeling of like feeling shitty can sometimes feel worth it. But sometimes you just feel kind of either flat or maybe even worse, at least for me. But there's a lot of the times like, what am I doing? Like, especially in this day and age, it's like you're really driving 1 to 2 hours to just do something in front of people. And it's like, I guess it's kind of like a service because it's like you're making people laugh, but maybe you get some kind of satisfaction out of it as like a real life performer kind of thing. But then sometimes it's like, man, just make a damn TikTok or something, post. But I guess it's not the same or whatever. But like, it's weird. It's weird. But
No, I definitely have those feelings too, and like really depending on like what around me is going on. Like sometimes I really just say you go out and do like two spots in a night, and like you got through your material fine, but it wasn't great, and like no one loved you, which I'm not. That's kind of part of what I battle with sometimes is like I'll be driving home like, am I a fucking attention whore?
mm-hmm.
And like I really don't want to wear that label, but I also do understand that with what we do as a craft, it is dependent on people's putting it out there and, allowing people to have their opinion on it. And it's just the social media aspect of it too is a grind in and of itself. You want your clips to stand out, but you also, do I really want to spend 2 hours trying to butcher some shit on my phone with my fat fucking fingers? And it's just shit like that, And
Yeah.
but yeah, especially with there's times too where it goes both ways, whether it's I'm doing something locally or I went out and things didn't go my way, like say the night, regardless of where it is, say it just didn't go spectacular. I kind of am just driving home like, dude, I could have got my dick sucked for free and not felt this way if I just stayed home.
Yep.
And it is a, for the love of the game kind of thing. And on top of that, you do get used to the swing of I get to hang out with my friends 3 nights a week, and that's fun.
Yeah, it helps.
But at the same time, you got to kind of make sure that the real shit in life is rock solid before you're it's time to chill, super chill.
Yeah. Sometimes that's. How old are you?
24.
Oh, you're relatively young. I'm 28. I turned 29 in a couple of days, and so.
Nice, happy birthday, dude. Are you doing anything exciting?
Not really. I was talking to my dad. My dad's he's turning 68, and I was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" Because my birthday's a day after my dad's birthday, and
nice.
So for most of my life, I've kind of been celebrating together. And so I was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he was just like, "Nothing really, man. Just happy to be here. I'm more excited to turn 70, and that's kind of how I feel about turning 29. I guess some people would be like, "Oh, it's my last year in my 20s. I gotta go hard." But for me, it's like, "Oh, wait, I don't know. 30 doesn't really seem bad. Maybe once it gets to it, and I'll be kind of like, oh fuck, I'm 30." But right now, I don't know. 30's always kind of been a magical number in my head of damn. Now we're talking about this again. I don't want to talk about this particular subject too much because I feel like it's such a cheesy thing to talk about, or a lot of people talk about it, but it's I do have this thing in my head sometimes 30 is your make it or break it year. You know how there's a superstition of how celebrities die at 27 or some shit, 27's club.
Yeah, no, this is in a way, this is kind of crunch time. This is the make or break era for sure. I can see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Because it's just you can you can not have your shit together, and you can fucking piss your pants because you drank too much when you're in your 20s. But the second you turn 30, it's yo, you need to have your shit together, dude. It's not cute anymore. You know what I mean? At 30 is you, even if you don't have a flourishing family or career, you should still have some stability established, as hard as that is to just even the beginning pieces of foundation are hard to come across. But it's you had 10 years to dick around. It's time to button up. And
do you have or want kids?
I've talked about this. It's interesting because in the last 2 years, this idea has really shifted in my head. I've been in a relationship for coming up on 5 years here pretty soon, and it's where by all means am I content, and I don't have any aspiration to either have any intimate connection with anyone else, let alone I don't like casual sex at all. So new partners are very not my thing whatsoever. The first time we fuck, we have to have four. I'm gonna drop the ball 4 times before shit works out accordingly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Wait, but I don't like casual partners, and I've had the same partner for a long time.
So you've been with your girl since you were 19? Basically?
Yeah, right before I turned 20.
Hey, me too. I've been with my girl since I was 19, and we're both turning 29 soon. So it's talking to somebody from the past.
Right? It's just talking to me in the future.
You'll be all right in 5 years. The future, I can't tell you exactly, but...
but what I'm getting at is, I've been with my partner for a long time, and this is who I want to be with, and we work very well when it comes to problem solving, so I don't really think whatever life throws at us will really tear us apart unless...
Have you ever done an escape room? Would you do one?
No, we know better than to do that. I did that with my family, which are ties that you can stop talking to them, but you can't disconnect yourself from them.
Sure.
So I think that was the better route. If I did it with my girlfriend, we probably it would end in turmoil, I would say.
Yeah, I got like an ad for a local escape room, and I've never done them before, but the pictures look fucking creepy, and I don't want to be put in that situation and just feeling like I just think of failing. I just think of not being able to get out of that room and how humiliating it would be, and your girl's
Yeah,
just looking at you.
it's one of those things that'll very quickly let your girl know what your survival tactics and like your
Yeah.
problem solving skills are like. Like this is kind of the same thing as like if like you blew out a tire in the rain.
Yeah, and you don't know how to
You know,
change it.
this is those moments where it's like, oh, this dude, oh, he knows what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But as far
I
as
could change a
marriage and
tire in the
kids,
rain if I had 5G, so I could YouTube it just to make sure.
yeah, I mean, she's gonna have to get out and hold the phone because I need two hands to switch this tire. But we're gonna get through this together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as far as marriage and kids go, like I've been with my girlfriend for a long time, and we've talked about this and like kids we don't think are the move for us. Like just we just did going through it in your head of just having to have your shit together for 9 months, and then it's 18 years of not doing what you want with your money, and it's just genuinely it's just too expensive to have a fucking kid, and unless I'm daddy fat stacks, it's probably not gonna be in my cards anytime soon. And we've both been vocal about like if there is a pregnancy scare where it's like, sorry pal, you got to get the fuck up out of here. Like we can't do this right now.
Do you ever think about just living in debt? Like you ever just think
That's the thing too. I'm debt free right now, and like it's always been that way. Like I have a credit card that never has left me. It's never shot me in the foot. So I have credit, but I don't have extensive debt with a car loan or a house or school or anything. So it's like I do, to an extent, have financial freedom.
Yeah, I just kind of feel like observing people, it just seems like the American way, the American lifestyle is to just live in debt. Like I feel like a big percentage of people, especially if you have kids, is just like it's so piled up where you just kind of give up to where you make the minimum payments. And I mean, how much debt can I be in until I get thrown in jail? But people still, oh, it's August, the weather's nice, let's go on a vacation to Vegas and just spend money, and it's fine. Like people vacation as much as people who aren't in debt as the ones in debt. And I'm personally not really a fan of it, but if the time were to come, like if I were to start a family or something, I feel like a big part of accepting having a kid is just accepting living in debt, because it's just like
100%.
that's how much you love the kid. You just fucking, yeah, whatever. Like, and my next question is, are you a millennial, or are you like a Gen Z or whatever the new things are
I'm
called?
not a millennial. I think I'm too young for that. I want to say I'm Gen Z or X. I don't remember. Gen Z is younger, so I want to say I'm Gen X.
Gen X, maybe, yeah.
I think that's where I fall in.
Why do they
But
just
I've
skip
also
to Z? Why do they just skip from X to Z? There's no Gen Y, huh?
there might be. I genuinely, I'm not too. All I know is that like millennials just have a bad connotation, just like socially. And then just boomers, it's like, oh, you're just old and geriatric and don't know what's going on. I only know so much about the topic.
I guess I just asked that to follow up questions like the future I think we mentioned like social media and things like that. This is like one of the original questions that I wanted to ask you about. Oh, here we go. I found it. So this is my question of the day, and like I said, it's just maybe it'll help me out here. It has nothing to do about you, but your opinion. Do you think if the whole world lived like America, and an example of living like America is living in debt? I feel like that's it. I'll go more into my answer, but yeah, like, what do you think would happen if the whole world lived like America?
If the whole world lived like America, well, This is hard to base an opinion on because I have never traveled out of country before, so I only have so much global context. On top of that, I don't watch the news.
That means
I
you're a
don't
true
watch
American.
TV.
You're a true American, and
True American.
your
I'm
opinion
uneducated
matters.
and proud.
Yeah.
But it's fucking. I don't know. There's parts that I'm just like, other countries have other things that would probably benefit us when it comes to, like, I don't know shit, dude. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I'm fucking smart.
That's good, but maybe
I'm glad
that's
I
fine.
can feel vulnerable enough to say that. Let's hear your answer, and I'll see
Yeah.
if you
And
connect any dots for me, so I can form an opinion.
Right, and you can cut me off if you have an opinion to share. So it's like how I see it. I'm also not not a fucking genius about it. I guess I just think about it, and it's just my thought of the day. I think to live the American lifestyle, like America, they always say, "Oh, we're billions of dollars in debt. We're trillions of dollars in debt," and it just keeps getting higher. Things like inflation, about it's projected in a couple of years, a cheeseburger at McDonald's is going to be $20 because they keep raising the minimum wage, inflation and shit like that. Houses are more expensive than possible, and I just. Some people would kind of say it's like a bubble bursting or something like that. But my point is, like, what if the whole world did that? Like, what if places like China or Russia, those things play a part in America being America. You know, a bunch of things are made in China, and there's like a war on trying to make things more American so we're independent. But the problem is motherfuckers don't want to work. Motherfuckers got open mics to hit. You know what I'm saying? Like we got
Straight up.
we got TikToks.
Yeah,
to make,
dude.
man. You know?
If the whole world lived like America, there'd be so much more shitty comics that I would have to be passively competing with. So I'm kind of glad that's not the case.
But the thing about Americans is I think, but I mean, I only speak English, so my opinion's also fucking biased. I think we're some of the funniest motherfuckers ever. Like, some people just don't do things like how we do it. There's some negative things.
Well, I think a part of that too is in America, I think we get to indulge a bit more in with like we have like shit like the Vice channel that's just like, oh hey, it's fucking 5:30 p.m. on a Wednesday. You want to learn how to cook crack in your kitchen? We got a show with commercials about it. So it's shit like that where it's like we get to explore those dark thoughts and indulge in them, where other things are a lot more like, you know, restricted and web access, and you know, I'm sure we're being watched every move we do online too, but over there it's a lot more prominent. Over there, I mean just any other country. I'm not pointing anywhere specifically.
Do you fuck, I lost it. Fuck. What were you saying? You were saying that you think people are watching us, and before that, what were you talking about? Everybody lived like
we just get to indulge in all this dark shit that we're not supposed to know about and have opinions on it and voice those opinions. And other countries that are so with, you know, dictatorships or you know, different governing styles, they don't really even get to have those thoughts, and if they do, they're not allowed to express them
I found
even yeah.
Do you ever go on like Twitter or Facebook and there's like a video and it's like blurred out and it's like, this video can't be shown in your country, you know? Well, sometimes
I've seen those. For shit like that, not like you brought it up and triggered it me or anything, but just like there's certain things on social media that I see, and for that reason, I've actually I don't mean to, like, this could be an exclusive because I've never actually vocally said this out loud, but I deleted Twitter within the last few months because I'm like, dude, this is straight poison. Like, why am I seeing all this crazy stuff at 7 a.m. when I'm trying to get ready for work?
Yeah.
And okay, if you can relate to that, do you want to know specifically what it was that really made me have to walk away from it? Like, it was affecting my mood in everyday life?
Sure, let's hear it.
High school fight videos.
Really? Oh, really? How'd that affect? I love those. How'd that affect you?
Dude, honestly, I mean, maybe you follow different pages where things are a little bit more tame and humor-based, but there would be times I go on Twitter, and it felt like every high school fight that I saw, it was never just like, oh, these dudes are squashing beef, or like, oh, these dudes handled that shit. It's like, oh, I'm watching attempted murder at 8:30 in the morning,
Really?
and then everyone's just like egging it on. It was just gross. It kind of just like made my stomach turn every time I saw it, and it kind of just like gave me bad opinions about public school. And I'm like, damn, it's crazy. I went the distance and never had to encounter that,
Dude,
and other people
I
have.
think the same about myself too. I always kind of joke around and say like I think my time in public school was like the most dangerous time of my life in a weird pussy ass way. But
But no,
public school is
it's real
crazy.
shit. Like fucking the thought of having, like we mentioned before, having a kid, and the thought of having to put it through public
Yeah.
school, and elementary kids only know so much, and if your kid's a piece of shit at that age, you as a parent should probably reflect a little bit. But
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it gets to an age where there's not a lot of contradicting and correcting those behaviors anymore, and now this is just the only way they know how to solve their problems, is acting out, and you don't want your kid to be on the tail end of that because they're at the wrong place at the wrong time.
What about you ever see those videos of students beating up teachers? Do those upset
Yeah,
you?
that shit is so fucking crazy. The lack of any kind of like respect for authorities. I'm not saying I'm a fucking
Bootlicker?
like I'm not like super Blue Lives Matter or anything.
Right,
But it's just the
Unless you
lack
get
of
pulled
respect
over.
for any kind of adult is so crazy to me.
Yeah, it's that's what worries me, and that's what worries me about having children. I'm at this point in my life where I feel like I'm all right with having a kid, but I'm also all right with never having a kid. But I feel like the issue is being all right. Maybe just I'm trying to be happy, like being stoked about having a kid and being stoked about never having a kid. So
Totally.
pretty
Yeah, me
flat.
and my girlfriend, we've had cats. Like, she had an old cat when we got together, and then it ended up passing away, and then we got one together. And it's like, it's just enough responsibility to where we still have control of what we want to do in our lives on a daily basis, not dictated by a kid's schedule. And it's also a matter of us, like, growing together as people, taking care of something, and, being able to, just enjoy what the little family we've put together.
That's cute. Yeah, I also got a cat. My cat is 2 years old, and when I first got him, I think it's well documented on this podcast. I might have even been crying about it, about how fucking stressed out I was. It was my first cat I ever got, and it just like I think I was like freaking out, dude. I think it made me have this epiphany. It was like I don't want kids. Like I can barely handle this cat.
So real.
But it's a good eye opener. But now that it's been 2 years and I'm kind of like cool with the cat, I was like, oh, maybe I'll have a kid. But then I'm fucking maybe I'll be kicking myself in the ass later and just I don't know. Sometimes I look at the cat and be like, man, you are it's easy maintenance once you get the hang of it. But maybe just like naturally as humans, we sometimes kind of like want to have responsibility, and that could be as linked to, having a cat or having to go to an open mic, like you just want to give yourself a task.
You want a sense of you're needed.
I guess so, huh? Oh, here's something I wanted to say to circle back onto what you were talking about with doing comedy and questioning if you're like an attention whore.
Yep.
I think a healthy way, because sometimes you kind of just like break it down and be like, man, I guess we all are. Like, I don't know if you ever just like look around at an empty open mic that's nothing but comics, and you just have this moment of like, so what's wrong with us, But
No,
like,
yeah, I always, it might be to my own detriment, but I tend to see through things early on, and like comedy was a time where I really consciously have to, because I've always been a fan of it, and I've always been fascinated since I was a kid to see professional comic on stage and just be so completely mesmerizing with just his words, no instruments, no tricks. Like prop comedy is a thing, but for the most part, it's just your thoughts and ideas, and you're entertaining masses with it. And I've always kind of, tried not to buy into the whatever facade someone tries to put out. Like if a guy, is, I could just tell if someone's putting in too much effort to try and be cool or try and wear cool shit.
Really
or
hard
just,
to be cool and funny.
Exactly.
Sometimes
And
being
it's
cool
like,
can ruin it.
a lot of times, like, it all comes down to style. It's not really what you do, it's how you do it. And that applies to
You can tell when
how you
somebody's
carry
faking
yourself,
it. Like,
how you are on stage, what you do for work. It's like, it all really, like, a lot of it is about keeping your credibility. And it's like, do I take you seriously based on how you carry yourself, this style of talk that you're trying to convince me that is your, natural slang of tongue? Like, I always try to simmer things down to their purest form and see, through all the smoke and mirrors. And I feel that way about comedy, as far as being at an open mic and being like, oh, cool, so we're all fucking losers tonight because there's no crowd here.
Yeah.
So now it's all of us. That's when it turns into like, okay, so yeah, we might have new shit to work out, and it all really depends on why you're there. Maybe you just wanted to hang out with your homies that night.
But it's challenging.
And that's fine, but then it's like, damn, there's people that I know here that aren't as funny as they think they are, and it's just, I know that, it's not going to be a good night for them.
I think I was just telling Marcion Evans about...
Shout out Marcion.
Yeah, Marcion Evans about how it's challenging, because we were kind of talking about the same thing, and we were talking about how it's challenging to make all your friends or other comics laugh if that's the majority of the crowd. But that's a good challenge to have, and it kind of brings me to my point of I feel like this is a healthy way to look at it, to kind of make you not feel like a self-absorbed attention whore or whatever.
Totally.
Or at least for me, this is how I've been looking at it lately. The jokes that I tell are jokes that at one point, or currently still are, just have me fucking cackling. Like, and it's just me I just really want to share that feeling of cackling with other people, with something that, I'm just sharing something that I thought of, or something that, like, a story or something that would help me out. And it's just like so it kind of takes you away from the pandering, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Of like trying to look for like, well, what the Raiders did just win, maybe I can talk about that, and maybe other people like the Raiders and we'll talk about it or whatever. It's like, it takes away writing in a sense, unless you have shitty memory and you really have to write things down to really bring up a story. And then that's when it comes into, okay, maybe this is a bit to work it out or something. But I always find a lot, because I'll be on like Discord and shit like that a lot and talking to people, or Xbox Live or whatever the fuck, and sometimes people will just question, like, is that something that you say when you're doing stand-up comedy? And I'll be like, no, I'm telling you a story. And then they'll be like, oh, well, that should be. And that's how a lot of this shit has kind of worked out for me, at least. And what was I going to share with that? So I guess and if it doesn't land, I guess it could be a shitty feeling if a joke's not funny, or maybe it's either it helps you in a self-improving way in two ways. Like, one, it helps you identify, like, if you've tried a certain joke that you think is so funny and you've tried it at 4 open mics and it's bombed consistently, it'll help you kind of be like, so what the fuck is wrong with me? And then the second thing that it helps is kind of like I think it's figuring out how to word it, like how I'm trying to figure out the second part of this fucking answer. And which one was it? I fucking forgot. My bad.
Well, yeah, I mean, just going off what you said, like, when it's just a crowd of comics, or you're literally fucking performing for the host and the one drunk old guy at the bar that's trying to, drink his sorrows away.
I was trying to find your crowd. I'm sorry. That's what it was. It's
right.
Like,
and honestly, dude, I've never found my crowd. Like, around here, I'm performing for a bunch of old geriatric fucks like 4 nights a week. And it goes well. Some things go over better than others. But for the most part, it depends on... I think it comes down to self-awareness, too, when it comes to being in a room that's just comics and there's no crowd there that night. It's like, well, unless you're just, consciously like, I'm going to get a rep in and make sure I know this bit inside and out because I have something bigger down the road that I want to use it for. I have a show that, I really want to be tightened up for,
Yeah.
then yeah, that's fine. But then it's like that's an opportunity to where you can just fuck off and your friends aren't going to care. They'll probably indulge in it because it's like, oh, we're not hearing the same, COVID joke that we've heard since 2020.
Yeah.
It's just like have fun with it. It doesn't always have to be, your special taping quality of performance. Sometimes you just go up there and fuck around and it's a rep or it all just depends on what you have going
You
on in
might
your
come
race.
up with a new joke right there on the spot.
Yeah, sometimes shit's so weird. You throw something out there, and that's what gets a reaction. And you're like, I would have never said that because in my head it's not funny, but clearly it broke some tension in here. So maybe I should keep that in my back pocket.
Yeah, and that's the fun part of it. It's just finding things that work. But yeah, finding your crowd. Yeah, I kind of thought about this the year and change I've been doing it. I feel like I've definitely outnumbered more of the comedians that I've met. I feel like my crowd is basically just the comedians, and at least when it came to attempting stand up. Like I mean, I'm kind of the opposite of you. I mean, I was a casual fan, but I was never so much like, oh, I want to do this. Like, this has got to get done. It's always just kind of been like a bucket list thing. Like, oh, maybe I'll try an open mic. But then it just, I don't know, just got addicted real quick a little bit to where it's more of a regular thing. And I somewhat immerse myself in the open mic world and shit like that. It's interesting. Like, just knowing how small the community is, too. I started this with the idea of that it's a dying art, and I still kind of do, but I respect it. Like, I don't want to say it's a dying art in a disrespectful manner. Maybe it could come off as disrespectful if you disagree, but I mean it is. I still respect it, but I think I think there's something going on. Maybe it'll come back. I'm hoping that it'll come back and things are more of how I would want it to be in the future, but right now it's kind of weird. I don't know. All I know is that it's kind of weird.
I agree. I mean, are you saying stand-up comedy is a dying art form?
Yeah, just in general.
To an extent. I mean, when it comes to censorship and the limited access of, everyone's always. I mean, I'm just gonna say everyone. It might not apply to me or you. But just like, everyone's working towards that Netflix special, that big break,
But they all suck. Like, Netflix doesn't have any good. There's a very small handful. Like, there's not much on Netflix if you want to like watch stand-up comedy.
Totally, and I agree. And I'm not even a big fan of a lot of the things that have been coming out recently. But it's a stand-up overall. I think we're in a state of oversaturation where a lot of the times. The funniest shit you would see online was stand up, and then it got to a point where the world opened up again and people were at bars, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's open mics everywhere and anyone could do stand up, and now everyone's trying to fucking do crowd work. Everyone's trying to put clips out, and it's one of those. It's very oversaturated, and it sucks because for some people it's a hobby, but if you really want to be good at it, it unfortunately kind of puts everyone else in the way.
Yeah, it's very easy to talk the talk, and maybe even walk the walk, but you're walking the walk with 1,000 other people with you. And it's like
right.
The whole thing that people are chasing is to stick out. Like, I'm the funniest person. They want to be Kevin Hart or whatever. I don't know. But like,
stand-up's a gross thing too, because it's like, it's so entwined in like being egotistical. Like, there is a certain amount of self-indulgent and awareness and, that it takes to actually know who you are and who you're trying to portray to someone on stage. But then it also comes with like, fuck, I forgot what I was getting at, but it's, you go ahead. It'll come back to me.
No, you're good. No, it's interesting. Well, I guess what I meant to say, I don't know if I got it out already. Like, the past year, I've definitely met more comics, and than I have just people that like my comedy, And I
Totally.
feel like a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
people that I've met can relate. It's like, it's so funny to me, and maybe it's just being arrogant or judgmental, but I'll see a bunch of people and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be here. Come check your boy out. I'm gonna be at a so and so. I'm gonna be at this place." And I just in my head, I'm like, I know if I did that, nobody would fucking come. And this person, like, I
no,
just know they're not.
that's such the grim reality, such a sad truth is that like comedy is so fucking gross and egotistical and self-indulgent. This is kind of what I was getting at. Is
Yeah.
like
Okay.
you have to be so to an extent infatuated with yourself to sit there and edit a clip of yourself talking for 2 hours and put it out there and be like, yeah, this is some of my best shit, and you should like it for this reason. That's why I put it out. And straight up, no one cares when you put your if you're on a poster. No one's going to come see you. The only people that are going to be there are people that were already going to be at the bar. And like, I get the most support from my family because they're the ones that are the most connected to me. But straight up, my friends don't give a fuck. And I don't want them to because we're at a point where this is so not glamorous that it's like, I don't want you to know I'm hanging out at these dives for 3 nights a week for my little attention when I know that's what I'm doing and I'm trying to not make it that. But when you see me on a Tuesday night, you're going to see that this isn't the Comedy Central treatment you thought I was getting from what people are putting on fucking Instagram and trying to put their online alter ego together.
I don't know if it's we're young, or well, or if you even agree with me. I don't know if I'm young, but it seems like, and this goes into the my theory of stand-up comedy dying. It's like the curtain got pulled back a little bit, and everybody like, I feel like back in the day, it was different to make it and be on Comedy Central or HBO. You just kind of like saw it, and it was easier to kind of like hide of like the behind the scenes and shit like that, and the art of networking and shit like that. So going into thinking that it's dying, like you said, you put a poster up, nobody's really gonna come or nobody really cares. And I think it's that challenge that goes along with a bunch of other people making clips. Everybody wants to have like Netflix or whatever, or somebody has. I think a good pathway to it is, I mean, I wish I could come up with some examples right now, but I know they're out there, so I'm just gonna describe it. There's definitely been people who have never done stand up really ever in their life. Maybe they did like 3 open mics, but then they became YouTube famous or Vine famous or TikTok famous or Instagram famous, whatever, on the internet for their funny skits or something like that. And then
Totally.
they made a deal with a comedy club, and they're like, "Hey, I do this. I could bring a crowd. Let's talk numbers. Maybe talk to
No,
me."
yeah, that's totally. At the end of the day, this is show business. So it doesn't really matter whether what you have to say is culturally relevant or funny or thought provoking. If people are going to show up and not ask their money back at the end, then yeah, you probably could be famous. And a lot of times, it's like there are comics that are not saying anyone we're affiliated with, not anyone at our level. I'm saying people that are actually making money in this, that they're not trying, they're not. They're not actually funny. They don't actually have a sense of perspective or certain wit or attitude about anything. They just have people online that like them that are gonna come out and fucking watch them because they like their rants on Instagram or their little skit. Like you said, they just like them because they're a fan because they're sketches or comedy. There's so many little weird little pockets, and stand up is the purest form because it takes away every gimmick. And it's the hardest one, ideally. So when you're actually good at it, it sticks out. But, I don't want to be at a point where I feel the need to make Instagram skits to be funny or relevant. I want my words to do the talking.
Can you imagine the pressure of like, you're like behind on rent or something, and you've claimed you're unemployed, and you claimed that you just make shit. You make shit on the internet, and that's what pays your bills, and you're not feeling it, kind of like that feeling you have on the way to an open mic, and you're just like,
right,
I don't want to make a funny reel right now, but it's like, the refrigerator needs to stay cold, and you're just like
straight up.
That's when your passion becomes your fucking work, and your hobby. I wanted to just mention. I don't know. This is an interesting topic. I don't know. Do you want to keep talking about this, or do you want to share something? Because we're at about 49 minutes. I could go longer. It's up to you. I don't know how much time you got, but
Yeah, I'm
I don't
not
want
in
to
a
talk
rush. I mean,
circles
we
about
can
trying to
still
make
let
it and
things
shit.
breathe. Did you have a question in mind that you wanted to roll out, and we could just keep going?
Um, I had some things on like people trying to make it still, and it just kind of I don't know, man.
Well,
I feel like I started doing comedy for not that. It was really for, if you were to ask me why I did it, it would be for self improvement. Just like things that we were mentioning earlier about like self awareness, and I feel like that's what's really helped me in my life.
yeah, there is a sense of, it does. I'm not a topical comedian at all. I don't do politics. I don't do current events. I just talk about my life and shit that I have opinions on. And a lot of the times it's dirty shit. Like by all means, or just about every single one of my sets going to have dirty jokes. And I could do clean stuff, but I have a lot more fun doing dirtier stuff because I want, as a consumer, when I go to see comedy, I want to hear something outrageous. I want to hear something I haven't heard before. I don't want to hear what the funniest guy at the law firm thinks, because it's who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
But what was your initial
Statement. I don't know. I feel like I'm
statement?
getting
Yeah.
kind of lost. I feel like I'm getting tangled in the point that we're trying to get to here. I don't even fucking know, man. We could talk about the Barrel Proof Lounge, which you're at right now, huh?
Fucking BPL Studios, man. Let's talk about it.
So they gave me the okay to be on the Shot Caller show,
Oh shit, dude, you better wear a diaper, bro.
and I had to bitch out. I wasn't
I
gonna-
don't blame you, man. I really think this is putting in perspective who has. I don't want to throw you under the bus at all, because you did make the conscious decision to walk away from it, which I think is the right move. But it's kind of showing who does and doesn't have self-respect for themselves.
Yeah.
Because for starters, it's not like Cobbs is putting on this show. All right, it's not like you're going to be on one of the big stages that we have to offer around in the grand scheme of Northern California.
Sure.
So you're going to be in Santa Rosa. That's going to, for most comics that have any relevance in the scene, that's going to be about 2 hours out of your way for a 90-second spot, which for me, I'm barely getting my whistle wet. I haven't even really dove into any fun stuff yet. And then on top of that, there is a sense of control taken from you as a comic when the power of interrupting you and shocking you, and throwing off your flow. And when that is on the table also, it's like, you're not here. It's, to an extent, it might be for attention, depending on how many people come and see this versus whatever podcast they put together. For me, it's not for me. I can't do these self-deprecating show. I need my credibility for things to be good. When you take away the control aspect of it, things really start to fall apart, and it just makes it not fun. It turns me from either a storyteller or just a comic, an asshole, whatever appropriate label there is for what I am on stage. You're taking that away and you're turning me into like a fucking show pony. Like dance, monkey, dance before I shock you again.
I respect your answer and opinion, but
Yeah, you don't need to do that, dude. You could go to any other spot that same night for 5 minutes where you get to do things on your terms.
I disagree in the form of, well, you're right about the self-deprecating thing and everything like that, but I was a big fan of Jackass as a kid, man, and it just seems like a Jackass stunt kind of thing, and I would do it for those purposes. I know it could, some opinions, like maybe you, like if we never did this podcast and got to know each other a little bit, you would have seen me do the shot collar thing, and your opinion of me would be different forever. You'd be like, oh, this fucking guy did it. I'm never gonna respect them or something like that, which is cool. But it's also a plus knowing that me not doing it, I don't know. I guess it's just it did look sketchy. I'll say that. it did look sketchy from the guy describing everything. Just looks sketchy,
dude. Even on the flyer, Joe Hill's headshot is like, I don't even know if I agree with this shit, but they're paying me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it by no means do I think this is gonna. I don't think anyone affiliated with the club will hear this, and if they do, these are my opinions. Oh well, I'll be back at open mic next week, so feel how you want about it. But as a comic, dude, it's a lot of the times you're battling for credibility, and when you put that in someone else's hands, it takes away the craft of it. You're not doing things on your terms. You're either there for attention, or maybe you like pain. That's fine too. Maybe you're just a kinky motherfucker, and it is what it is. But at the same time, I came here because that's, I think, to an extent, that's what I like the most about comedy is the control, because I can take you down this dark path with a dirty joke, a dark story, something that's problematic to say, but I can also steer us out of here because I'm funny and I did this on purpose and I have a way to round it up.
Yeah, I think some people are just simpletons, and maybe it's just hilarious to see people tell a story and in the middle of it get fucking shocked. People are sick. I think the fact that some people even go to an open mic as a civilian or a comedy show, like low level, like underground shit, it's already questioning in itself. Like, damn, why are you here? You ran out of fucking TikToks to watch or something? Like, you're really at the point where you're watching people get electrocuted. And
totally,
I get it. Like, I'm not. I don't know, man. Steve-O does comedy, and I think in his comedy act, he just does stunts. Sometimes he'll fucking staple his nuts to his thighs, and people buy tickets.
No, yeah, he totally does. I mean, I've heard higher level comedians say that it was funny and they enjoyed the show. But that's the thing, is it's a show. I think it's less of stand up and more of a one man show where it's like, because I know he has video segments and there will be stunts or performances on the show that day, but I think stand up is just in the purest form. Like, it's just you, a microphone, and a crowd.
Have you heard of Mark Maple's graffiti comedy?
Yeah, they put on pretty cool shows. I've been trying to get myself in the loop. He has, I don't know of any like gimmicky shows that he's put on with like any shows with the catch, but he puts on a cool show at a skate shop that I think I would fit the criteria for pretty well.
You do have skateboarding material, huh? Yeah, I always told myself if I were to get booked on that show, I would open with doing a kickflip, and I'll bring my own board. I'll go up there. Hopefully I land it on the first try, but if I don't, that's when the comedy starts, and I'm just going to keep trying the kickflip until I get it. And it might take 5 minutes. It might take my whole set. But when I finally get that kickflip, I'm going to be like, what's up, posers? And just let it rip, dude. I don't know.
You could.
So, yeah, that's the plan for that. You can steal that if you want. If you get on that show before me, you can. If you think it's funny, I heard a little chuckle. You can do it. You can do it. Like, go ahead. We could play a game of skate. How about we do that? Maybe let's just harass Mark Maple into getting on the show, both of us, and then we'll play a game of skate. We'll have him kick off 2 comics to give us time to play skate or something like that. I don't know.
That'd be pretty sick. I hope I don't. My flat ground game is not what it once used to be. So maybe if they have some ramps and transitions, we could get shit popping.
What's your best trick? Like flat ground trick?
I mean, I'm straight up. Like, I'm a big dude. I never even put the man hours, boots on the ground time to figure out flip tricks, just because I always just wanted to go fast. So I've always taken more to bowls and transitions, and I just like to fly around, and I'll catch grinds and do little fat guy layback tricks and stuff. But I skate curbs and bowls mostly. I'm old. I'm fucking heavy. I'm not 18 running on straight hormones and fucking Four Locos anymore. Life is definitely, it's a different ball game these days. It's mostly just for a sense of cardio in my day-to-day life.
You ever longboard?
No, I always thought that shit was kind of corny.
Good, good. You don't have you can uncensor. You don't have to say corny. I know what the real word is.
That was the word I wanted for it.
Oh, okay.
I think corny is the only way. Like I
Okay,
didn't
good.
like I could be like, yeah, that shit's
You
fucking
were
gay,
worrying me
but at
when
the
you were
same
talking
time,
about I
it's
just
kind
want to
of
go
surfy.
fast. I was like, man, you sound like a longboarder.
No way, you'll never catch me with some fucking hockey pucks on my gloves, dude.
I've uh I've considered it, but after this conversation, I'm stepping back because I don't want to be a hypocrite. You see me
Nah,
on a
you don't want to
longboard.
do that, dude. That's the same way I feel about dudes that get into longboarding as an adult. Um, is the same way I feel about dudes that get into comedy way later in life. Is like, dude, you had credibility for a long time until you chose to do this shit, and you fucked that up.
I was thinking about that earlier when you mentioned your age. I started at 27, and so I feel like 27 is okay. I mean, maybe a little bit of me gets upset, like, oh, I should have done this when I was earlier. But I think we mentioned it at the beginning of the podcast. Like, you got to get your shit together, life
Yeah, you
wise.
got to have a sense of who you are before you go up there and try to convince people into believing whatever story or whatever you're trying to portray. You have to credibility and a sense of self is like those are the main things before people are going to start to take you seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would have done all right if I was young because I always considered myself like a content creator. Like, I was doing this podcast before I even did stand up. And so I was
Nice. I was
just
podcasting before stand up too.
good. You're a rare breed, dude. I think that's another example of how I think stand-up comedy's dying because podcasts are getting so big. And me personally, like what I like to consume in my life, I'd much rather listen to my favorite comedian's podcast that he posts weekly rather than like their comedy special that comes out once every ever so years. And the comedy specials always just they don't seem as authentic and real. Like I like
No,
people who
not
are
at all.
authentic and
And
real.
it's also a thing too where I think cultural context and striking while the iron hot is a key component. And when it comes to some of the shit that we've gotten in the last few years, it's like it's outdated. The people telling you aren't even excited about it anymore because they're living such a different life than what was going on when these jokes were hot and exciting.
Yeah.
And it gets to a point where like with a podcast, it's so in the moment, you get to realize in real time why they're funny, why they're special, what their thing is. Like, you just see where their brain goes as opposed to this 1 hour ride that they've manufactured for you and honed in over the course of 2 years.
It's fun seeing and witnessing like a kind of like a podcast inside joke or just like a joke made up on the fly. And like I guess not trying to say this episode sucked today, but I'm trying to think of something that could have been like a callback, if you may, during this
I
episode.
think we just kept things pretty G real today. I think
G-real.
we really pulled the curtain back, pulled the skin back on what is
Just a little bit.
the dirty, uncircumcised dick of being an open micer.
Yeah. I'm circumcised though, so
Oh, dude, can't relate. Sorry. You're not really Filipino, bro.
Filipinos are I think they're circumcised. That's their thing, right? Isn't it?
I don't actually know.
I
I
actually
just figured you were some like if you're ethnic, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt
Oh.
that you have a strong foreskin and you wear it proud.
I
So
think
it might
I
just be
actually
like an
think it's
immigrant mentality that I have instilled in me.
I got you. But I think it's actually Filipino culture. They look down on you if you're not circumcised. At least
Do you
like,
think it's a class thing? Like, oh, you didn't have the fucking
Yes.
the $18 to snip that shit off? You're a peasant.
I have nephews that they didn't get circumcised until they were like, I don't know, 8 or 12 years old. And
That is so unnecessary.
yeah, man. And I remember my dad, like, I'm in like middle school. These kids are like, 8 or 12 or something. Or as they're growing up, my dad will just randomly be like, your nephews, yeah, the boys, they're not circumcised, huh? Like, just like shamefully, like, you ever have, I don't know how your family is, but, sometimes
No,
you'll be like,
I can.
so and so's gay?
I'll
What a
explain
shame.
my family here
Yeah.
after you wrap up because I think
Oh, yeah.
we'll indulge in this.
Yeah, man, it's just like there's that, and I had a Filipino. Oh my god, this is literally one of the funniest things that's ever happened to me at like a workplace environment before, dude. I go to the men's bathroom, and I had there's like urinals, so I'm using the urinal. I'm using the urinal next to a Mexican fella, and a Filipino guy walks in, and he's just like he just kind of like pats at me or something. This happened many years ago. I forgot, but he's just like, hey, like he like came up to me and like whispered about the
He was
Mexican
like, "Get a
guy.
load of this guy."
Yeah, he was like kind of get a load of this guy, and he was all like, hey, did you know he's not circumcised? Like the way he
Why are
said
you
it.
foreskin watching? You should have told a grown man that
That's what was
in a
so
bathroom and just
fucking
put him on
funny to me.
blast.
That's what was so fucking fun. Well, these cats are older. They were probably in their like late 40s to 50s or mid 50s possibly. And like he was just like the way he presented it to me that, hey, did you know Alex isn't circumcised, the Mexican guy? Like another Filipino thought we could bond about making fun of this other guy not being circumcised, and I was laughing at the Filipino like, bro, why the fuck do you know that? And why the fuck, like, it was just so hilarious that he assumed that I would care and be like, oh, really? He's not circumcised? What a dumbass, you know? Like, and just for hours, I was cackling about over it. And like, I don't even work there anymore. And the dude has my number. And every now and then, I'll just be like, man, that shit is still funny. Like, nothing has topped that. I don't know. It caught me in the moment, too. Like, years later, when I say it out loud, I'm like, whatever. But in the moment, and that's if I did comedy back then, I would find a way to make that a joke because I would want to share whatever feeling I had back then to that.
That's so funny. Yeah, you can't be turtleneck watching in public. That shit's not
Turtleneck
okay
watching.
whatsoever.
Yeah, fucking weird.
But yeah, dude, as far as fucking, I mean, I think it's funny that the podcast went from, pretty inside baseball behind the curtain to just
Circumcision.
our thoughts on foreskin and circumcision. But I think that kind of embodies who we are as people anyways.
We're Americans. Dude,
Exactly. But what's funny is that in my family, I have two brothers and my dad. I have half siblings, so like all the circumstantially, each kid was different when it was born. But I'm the only one in my family that's not circumcised, and I know that for a fact. And I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why? Not that I am self-conscious about it at all, and I never have been, just because being like I know how to take care of myself, and I've never had, like, even with partners, it's never been a concern at all. And if they did, I'm like, oh, okay, then you're just corny, and I don't want to fuck you anymore, anyways. But it's funny that I'm like, wow, dude, how did I end up on this side of the field? And I don't know.
I always kind of wonder what it would be like if I wasn't circumcised. Actually, I do think about that from time to time. But I always like growing up, like watching porn and shit. I always was like proud to be circumcised, but I feel like especially the way how I grew up with my fucking dad, having that in my ear to make me like, it's just funny that Filipinos, at least from my experience, it always just seemed like such a thing to like, maybe they got made fun of as kids if you weren't circumcised. It's just so dumb. But
yeah, there is the stigma that girls are like, oh, it looks weird or whatever. I mean, like, sure, yeah, I could, but it pulls back and it could look normal,
I was with
I might
a girl
pull up to the
once.
scene with my ceiling missing.
I was with a girl once that their boyfriend before wasn't circumcised, and then they brought it up, and they were all right with it. They were like, it's like a surprise, That's what their reference was, and it always made me feel, I don't know. It's like when you have sex with a guy who isn't circumcised, I feel like it's like equivalent to having sex with a black guy. I don't know if that makes sense.
There's just something so scary and different about it, is what you're getting at. Is that what you mean?
A dick is a dick.
So
but...
ethnic and different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely felt different, but at the same time, it got to a point where I'm like, it's still getting sucked, so I guess I don't really have to care about it as long as it's clean.
Yeah. I had a family member. They got an infection. I don't know how old they were. Then they had to have a forced circumcision. But all right. Yeah, we've done about an hour and 9 minutes, bro. So if you have any final thoughts or whatever, You
I
know.
mean, it's been fun, man. It's. I feel like I know you, but I know that I don't know you yet. Like we haven't
Yeah.
had these connections in person. But what I do know is that the next time I see you, I'm gonna be like, "What's up? You still circumcised?" And it's not
Yeah.
gonna be weird.
Yeah, and everybody around you will just be like, "The fuck." I got.
Yeah, we're gonna come in and like start with a handshake, and then when you nod your head, and yeah, we're gonna bring it in for that half hug.
Yeah, yeah.
It'll be everyone's be like, "Yo, they're really bonded. They've been through things together."
I'm inspired to write a circumcision joke. And there's one thing that I notice with local comics that I really like to see is some people will make jokes out of something that they were just ranting in their car during like making a story or something or a podcast or a post, and it's cool to kind of see somebody like first thing that came to my mind was this guy named Jose Contreras. He was just like in his car ranting about Vietnamese iced coffee. And then like now it seems to be like a regular joke that he uses. And it's like that's an organic, natural joke. I like to see that.
Totally. But there's also the challenge of that is recreating the moment and the passion. Like
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
things flow so well because you're
fresh.
passionate about it, and you go up there and try to recite it as a joke. You're like, yeah, there's a lot more setup than necessary, and I didn't even get my point across because I was trying to be funny.
Yeah. Well, you can only learn so much about somebody in an hour, in 10 minutes, like we've been doing so far. And I like doing these podcasts with other comics because it can be hard to socialize at open mics. Like I know you mentioned, part of it is the hang. A lot of the comics have kind of mentioned that. But
Right.
I feel like one-on-one, you learn a lot more, especially in an hour. And as opposed to like being at an open mic where it could, depending on where you're at, be possibly loud, and you're just like, it's like you're at a club with music but not as bad, and you're like yelling into someone's ear, so whatever you say better fucking matter. You don't have time to be like, oh, I forgot what I was gonna say, let me get back in your ear later. And
Right. Well, there's also the politics aspect of it too, where it's like you want to be a good time, you want to like be a good hang and easy to work with, and you don't really get the time to be vulnerable or talk about the bad things in your life or your shortcomings because you're just like, no, dude, like, why are you bringing up sad shit? Like, we're having fun right now.
you're at a comedy club. It feels like there's like pressure that everybody has to like say a one-liner or a punchline to for it to be worth saying. Especially if you're somewhere you get like multiple comics, you're not gonna get a word in, or
Totally.
everybody's talking. So yeah, it's an honor, man. Thanks for reaching out. You're the only person who even hit me up about being on the show. I think I don't even know. You're the one that stuck out, and I was like, all right, we'll do it.
Well, I think on top of that too, it's just like I understand how hard podcasting is, and like to be consistent, to keep things interesting, not waste people's time, technical difficult. It's a fucking mission.
Yeah.
So it's like when you do it with someone else that understands that, the flow is better. It's not like this is just my time to shine. It's I'd rather take the time to actually get to know each other.
Yeah, man. I hope to see you soon in the future, and hopefully you get circumcised. We'll have you back on, and we could.
Yeah,
like,
dude, that's
compare
never
lives.
gonna happen. But I will see you soon.
Yeah, I'll see you at the Shot Collar Comedy or something. I don't know. I gotta make my way over there one day, or maybe we'll meet somewhere.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll cross paths here eventually. But yeah, dude, thanks for having me. It's been a good conversation. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good luck tonight, and I will see you around, man. Stay safe. Have a good night. Thanks again.
All right, man. Have a good night. Peace out.
Later.
All right.
All right. I'm done. Fuck that. Fuck that. Got some dishes to wash.